All right, we're live.
All right, sounds good. Yeah, no, it's good to be back. Better to do it in like more casual form and stuff or the live stream or whatever. But man, I don't know. Playoff basketball, a couple games got started already. What did you think of? I guess the first couple games, or I don't know, just
Yeah.
like framing both the East and the West. Like, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I know we got the Nuggets versus the Lakers right now. Looks like the Lakers are playing a lot better basketball this time around. I know they got Vanderbilt starting. I think the one thing from the last game was rebounding, right? Out rebounded it was like 40 something to like 30 to in the Nuggets' favor. I think like Jokic had 10 rebounds in like the first quarter, almost a double double. So good thing that they're playing with more intensity, I think, this time around. And I think Vanderbilt, they like showed their record with Vanderbilt starting. It's like 24 or something and 10. Um, like that's as good as it gets, I feel like. So, I think it's better to have Schroeder coming off the bench. And then with the defensive rotations, Vanderbilt's just a lot better there. I don't know. So it seems like it's going to be a better game. Might be evened, or who knows what happens in the second half. But I think it's just a matter of who is going to show up apart from the stars. Last game I think Bruce Brown. Holy cow, this guy like played lights out. But then now like this game, it's like Rui Hachimura. So yeah, it's for me, it's like whose bench is going to show up more, like which role players are going to show up, because I think the stars are going to show up. At least it seems like they are. So yeah, I think that's my thoughts right now. Just the role players, which ones contribute more, and then yeah, rebounding looks like for both teams.
Yeah, I mean, kind of going in what you've seen so far. Which team were you kind of leaning towards to represent the West?
Oh man, I thought I was kind of thinking the Lakers, but and to your point, right? I think you called out the Nuggets as the team to come out of the West, if I'm not mistaken. So, I kind of want to still stick with the Lakers. I feel like just like given their, I guess the pedigree of LeBron and Anthony Davis. I've liked some of the switches and changes that Darvin Ham has made. So inserting Vanderbilt in the starting lineup, things like that. So I might just stick with the Lakers, or maybe have an opposing view. But do you still feel good about the Nuggets coming out?
I do. I feel good about them. It's not one of those things where I'm like, this is a slam dunk, or, I feel like for other series and matchups in all different sorts of sports that we've covered, I've obviously had like a favorite and felt pretty good about it or something. But, I think this matchup is showing that it's going to be, pretty balanced, pretty even. There's probably be a lot of ups and downs in these games. And, I think the thing for the Nuggets is, number one, they were the most consistent team. They were the best performing team out of the West this year. I felt like that conference itself was kind of like hard to understand because we had, the Warriors, the Suns, the Lakers kind of all taking on, lower seeds than maybe their talent really, shows them as. And then you had a bunch of teams at the top. It was like kind of, okay, they had great records and they were, scrappy and, you know, in a lot of ways, it kind of felt like, what do we really make of these, top 10 teams in the West? And like, how do we really determine which teams are the best? So I felt like this is one of those weird years where I'm like, if the Nuggets just play their game, they're consistent, they have so much, chemistry kind of built in and, probably some good camaraderie over the last few years, especially like their time during the bubble was so much fun to watch. And I've always been kind of like pulling for them to, get over the hump and, have guys like Porter and Murray on the floor consistently. And just Jokic itself, like his stat lines. I mean, just being a box score enthusiast as you are too, it's like just so much fun to look down on the paper and just look at what he does night in, night out, and have like 30 points, 20 rebounds, 15 assists, perfect from the 3-point stripe. It's like, what can't this guy do? And it's just he just needs the kind of like the rotation guys or even some of their other core players to help out and pitch in like the Bruce Browns and others, but this is just a really nice roster. I feel like 1 through 5 in that starting lineup, it's just so solid. And if Jeff Green can just put some minutes in that are respectable while others take a breather. I mean, that's nice. And I was kind of surprised Reggie Jackson has gotten like 0 playing time this whole playoff, run for the most part. But they look pretty good. Lakers, I don't know. I don't know what to say really. I mean, I feel like yes, they're a better roster now, and Austin Reeves is like stepping up as like a real true third man. He's probably going to get paid pretty well this offseason. AD at times, it's like you just don't know if you're going to get the dominant AD or like just the good to average AD at times. And I think that kind of inconsistency just leaves some question marks, and they just feel like they're a little bit more top heavy than maybe the Nuggets are. I feel like Nuggets have like, I don't know, if we were to seed like the 10 starters from both teams, I would take like most of the Nuggets within the top 7 and probably like, kind of debate have left over, to be honest with you. Like, it's just kind of how I feel about it.
Yeah. What's funny is that you mentioned Reggie playing time, and then I just saw him actually. I'm watching the game here on the side a little bit, and he just hit a 3-pointer once you were talking about him, actually. So, but to your point, though, I think the key advantage, I think, right now for the Lakers, I did talk about like rematting and such, but depth, the bench, I think that was like one thing about having Schroeder in that second unit. A lot of adjustments, right? Having Schroeder in that second unit, Hachimura having a hell of a game this game, and then Lonnie Walker, right? We've talked about this game. They just haven't been the Denver's bench hasn't been playing too much. But then hey, now let's see what happens with Reggie Jackson. Let's see if he can contribute. Like Bruce Brown, like great player, but are you expecting 16 points from him off the bench? No, right? So I think that's like one big thing. Like one hesitancy about the Nuggets is the bench versus like the Lakers right now. But to your point though, that starting lineup like with Murray, Porter, and then Jokic, like that's as good as like any starting 5. Yeah, and Gordon having a solid season as well. KCP, like it's as good of a constructed starting lineup, I would say.
Yeah, I just feel like if you're playing some street ball or rec ball or something like that, just to have like a 5-man unit you can always run with and stuff, and you've just been doing it for a couple seasons now. It's like, I don't know. I just feel like they're comfortable. They're probably gelling at this point. I feel like if the Lakers were going to go down in this round, I'd still give them like a huge like ovation for what they were able to kind of put together based on where things started this year, because it was looking pretty bleak, and then they just made some really strategic trades that changed kind of the course of this season, probably next year for what it's worth. But I don't know. Again, I don't feel like this burning confidence that the Nuggets are going to be on hands down going to be taking this thing. I just feel like it'll be a very competitive series, and I really hope they get over the hump. I mean, I'm not a like LeBron hater, like to all extremes. In a sense, like I don't really like want to see him winning another title here.
Yeah, I'm definitely like I think I'm cheering for the more, but I think I have more confidence with the with their length, their defense. I think that's like one thing that maybe just doesn't get discussed as much is when you have a player like AD that can guard 1 through 5, right? Like you saw him with Steph Curry, like he was able to challenge shots and block him several times. Like that's a difference maker. And then LeBron, one of the best defenders like of this generation, basically too. When he actually tries, so in the playoffs, maybe they'll try a little bit more. So I definitely feel like they are really good defensively, and Darvin Ham, he's like I don't know if people remember him as a player, but I think I remember him. He was like undrafted and just kind of came into the league, and then all of a sudden like he was like up for rookie of the year awards and stuff like that, just because he was a hustler. So I think he is if he brings in some of that mentality, obviously as a coach right now. With the changes that they've made, I definitely see that like as part of his DNA gets, I think, embedded with the rest of the team, right? So, that the Lakers, I think the way that they've been playing, I think it matches up pretty well. I think against this Nuggets squad, and yeah, the bench too. I think is the key differentiator too. So, but yeah, I don't know. I think we'll see. I'm definitely cheering for the Nuggets because I like that style, their style of play a little bit more.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think this is all fair debate. I like Mike Malone a lot too. Like, I feel like, was it a cancer thing or something during the
I think so. Yeah.
first? Yeah, I mean, it was just kind of like he was pretty inspiring, especially for his team then, and like just seems like a good coach, somebody who's really well liked within his locker room, and like if he was to get a title, I think that would be pretty cool as part of like this team. But we'll see. I don't know on the Eastern side, what have you been making of like the first, I don't know, the first game, and then did you have any thoughts going into this series too?
Yeah, why the fuck is Peyton Pritchard playing? Like, I think that was like the one call out. Where's Grant Williams? I think Grant Williams had if I remember correctly, had a pretty good game, a pretty good series last conference finals, right? So this was the same kind of matchup with the Heat versus the Celtics. The Heat being in conference finals, what 3 of the past 4 years of Jimmy Butler, so pretty awesome there. But yeah, Peyton Pritchard. I'm hoping for their sake that they bring in Grant Williams. I think that's just a better matchup overall. I think Joe Mazzel was talking about Pritchard is a little bit more of a playmaker, but I think they have enough playmakers with like off the bench with White, Brogdon's. Like, why do we need or why do they need like another playmaker with Pritchard? Like, I definitely see a little bit more of that balance. I think with Grant Williams, especially with the Heat lineup, with Strus, Jimmy, obviously, Caleb Martin. I just think that they're pretty strong. I think a lot of pretty solid 3-and-D players. So I think Grant Williams is a nice matchup for them there. So I know that was the one thing that just irked me. Like, Grant Williams, why is he not in the game? And then obviously Jimmy Butler, man. Like, how do you not talk about Jimmy Butler? I'm cheering for him. Like, I'm hoping for the Heat to. I know they won this first game, but I'm hoping that they're still underdogs. I just hope that they take down the Celtics here. I would be cheering for them and cheering for Jimmy on this.
It's completely crazy to think like a play-in team that even lost in the first round of the play-in got the ability to kind of bounce back and maybe took advantage a little bit of like a Bucks squad that was like hampered with Giannis out, but then they won game 7 when it mattered most, and Giannis was on the floor for that game, and just to see what they've done series after series, and without Tyler Hero, it's just like, man, I don't know, I just don't get it. Like, how is like Gabe Vincent and Max Strus like enough to be kind of like these stable contributors to a team that seems to be like aging. It seemed to be kind of like a tired team going into this year, and like the talent, you just look on paper, you're like, okay, this is a pretty good team. But yeah, I'm kind of perplexed, and maybe it is like the time for guys like Strus, Martin, Vincent, others to become like household names, like Boston Celtics players did last year, like Grant Williams and Robert Williams and others. So I don't know. I'm still thinking the Celtics are going to win this series. I feel like there's just too much talent there. Again, the cohesion was there last year. I don't really feel like they've skipped too much of a beat. I mean, they had a close series with the Sixers where it was kind of like we all maybe kind of thought it could be ending, and then Tatum just pulled out like this 50-point, masterpiece, and it's like that kind of gave me Steph Curry vibes in a way. Like, when his back's against the wall, is he the type of guy who's going to be like, yeah, give me the ball, I'm ready to go. Jimmy's that guy. So if Boston has one of their own, then it just like it feels like whatever the rest of the guys can cobble together around those two. I feel like the best team should win in that sense. But yeah, I don't know. Celtics have been like, they haven't been putting their foot on the gas the way they probably should as like a quasi 1 seed, as the 2 seed that they are. But I still think there's enough talent there to knock off the Heat. And again, I think this will be a competitive series, but I just have a feeling like the Celtics will still get in.
Got it. So you got Celtic, the Nuggets. Sounds like, right? Yeah. I'm probably gonna go Celtics as well because 7-game series, right? Similar, what is happening, I think, with the Sixers. For whatever reason, made some of these adjustments, even though I think it's universally acknowledged talented team like remaining in the playoffs, from the bench to the starting lineup, right? So, but then, takes Joe Mazzulla like an entire series, maybe by game 4, it's like, oh, so I definitely I'm in favor. I'm gonna go with the Lakers having, hey, look, another Lakers Celtics matchup going on here, right? So that's what I'm probably gunning for.
Yeah, or it could be Lakers Heat, like in the bubble. Like, either way, can't get any new blood in there if these staple franchises just continue to execute. But I guess I'm going Nuggets Celtics. That would be an awesome series to me. Like I'm feeling like a little torn on who I think would be the favorite. When we were chatting before the playoffs even kicked off, I feel like it was like, it's Bucks Celtics, and whoever wins that's going to win it all. And things kind of turned the way they did, and now it's like I have some doubts over the Celtics because, like, are they the kind of team that can put their foot on the gas and put teams away? And beating the Sixers in 7 after being down, having to go back on the road and win one, like, that was pretty ballsy. So, I mean, it seems like they have the fortitude to like push through and overcome in ways. So I don't know. I mean, we're still like, I don't know what the Nuggets can do at the next level. I mean, I'm hoping they get to kind of show us, but I don't know. I'm really split. I think if we get to the finals, I'm just gonna stick with my gut with like the team that I had in the finals, and I just like the team that I want to pull for. So probably just going with my fandom on this one. Just kind of say, Nuggets in a very competitive series, no matter who they face, but especially against the Celtics, I think that goes to 7. And Heat, I don't know, 5 or 6 maybe to me.
Got it. Yeah, I mean, I think it makes sense. It's definitely a hard one, especially if with Jokic as kind of the poster child of modern NBA bigs, doing it all. I really, but I just feel there's something with the Celtics. I'm getting a little Celtic magic, even with the Lakers, and that's gonna be a great matchup. I think that's actually a harder matchup than say if the Nuggets were to go against the Celtics. So, but I'm gonna actually say, hey, let's give the Celtics the championship. I mean, they'll earn it for sure if they do win it, but I'm probably gonna be leaning towards the Celtics. Maybe against LeBron, being all like, "No, Jordan's the GOAT. You can't touch this." But I feel like Tatum, he's playing on a different level. I think that eventually Joe Mazzulla makes the right decision. I'm hoping we see Grant Williams, but he definitely has made some questionable decisions here and there, and I think rightfully so. He's been scrutinized for that, even like with the Sixers series. So we'll see if he's still able to make those adjustments. But their squad again is like the most talented squad I think remaining. They did add Brogdon from this previous from last year's team, adding him in this season, and he's definitely been a key contributor I think in this playoffs. So making smart decisions, hitting those open threes, and even playing around the mid range too. So I think they're just the most complete team, but honestly, the only thing that's holding them back is some good coaching. And eventually he'll make the right decision. I'm thinking that's what I'm going for. But yeah, it's definitely the one I don't feel the greatest about. I would have preferred, Giannis and just choosing the Bucks and trusting Bud to make right decisions. But hey, he's out of a job now, so how about all that?
Yeah. Now, that was another topic I wanted to get to as well. Once we kind of close the book on the finals or whatnot, but just like all these coaches that got fired going into this off season here, and it's just like, I guess if we are closing the book on the finals, just based on what we were talking about, I mean, to look at Mike Budenholzer, Monty Williams, Nick Nurse, and yesterday Doc Rivers, it's like, man, I know like these teams are under pressure, and not everybody can win it all. Only one team can get there and get over the top and everything else like that. But just to like fire or even let go the caliber of coaches that have been let go, it's just, to me, it's pretty stupid. I mean, I'm not like, I don't know. I mean, look at Eric Spoelstra. I mean, he's been in the hole for like whatever it's been now, at least 10 years, right? 15 years or something. I can't even count. And look at how many bad seasons are just below average seasons they've had. But it's like, you keep the caliber of coach in place, I feel like, that's just, winning 60% of their games or more, or getting their team to playoffs year in, year out, or, conference finals, other things, winning it all. It's like, to me, just super mind blowing. I didn't know if of those you agreed with any, or if you felt like strongly about certain guys that shouldn't been, let go in those situations. Because, I mean, for me, maybe Doc Rivers is the only guy I'd say like, maybe you just need to change up the culture a little bit of that team. Maybe you just need to like kind of cut that one off, because it seemed to drag on, especially throughout the Ben Simmons era. But the other three, I just don't get.
Yeah. No, I agree on Doc Rivers. I think there's a lot of players that will go to bat for like, yeah, he wasn't the greatest coach. Like he has this perception as a player's coach, but then when making like in-game adjustments, he's always been somebody that's been scrutinized. Like he had a really talented Clippers team, right? Lob City, right? Not be able to take them to the chip squad. So I think he hit some early success with that. I think it was like an Orlando Magic team with like Daryl Armstrong and like forget other players. I don't know if like Ben Wallace was there maybe or something, but I think they made like the 8th seed. Like they were predicted to be like the worst team in the entire NBA. But lo and behold, they made the playoffs as an 8th seed, and I think that put him on the map. And obviously, he's a former player. But after that season, it's just been, sure, yeah, he had the Celtics, but it's like anybody. I always felt like anybody could have won with that Celtics squad. With Rondo, Paul Pierce, Ray Allen, and Kevin Garnett. Was like, just don't screw this up. So I definitely agree with your sentiment on Doc Rivers. Nick Nurse, that needs to be a head coach. I think if I am either the Suns or right, or the 76ers, he's the in-game adjustments, I think was the key thing that he made at the NBA championship run that he had with the Toronto Raptors and Kawhi and company. Like those things were great adjustments there. He's a really good coach. It's just, it definitely felt like that their timeline and like what Nick Nurse, he wants to win. And I don't know if with the way that the structure right now, like they're going to be championship contenders like in the next couple squad of young talent. And there's maybe a Kawhi Leonard type of trade, right? That they'll be doing. So all that being said, I that's where I'm thinking Nick Nurse. It sounded like it was kind of a mutual decision between both of them. So yeah, he's gonna get a head coaching job. Probably one of those top teams that we mentioned there. Monty Williams, I think, was much more of the GM trying to cover his ass than anything with trading high caliber players, right, in Bridges and Johnson, and I think there was some picks too maybe involved as well. So it's like, yeah, it was the coaching, it was the coach's fault and stuff like that. That's where I feel like, yeah, it was a little bit more the GM just trying to cover his ass. Yeah, so I don't know. That's just kind of how I feel about all that. But I think the Suns, for me now, it's kind of the question of like, man, this KD guy, like you get one of the best players in the world, right? Going to this team, I try to give him the benefit of the doubt. I think I picked the Suns to go to the finals at the beginning of the playoffs, but yeah, it just goes to show, like even though if you get KD and stuff, KD definitely has his own questionable baggage, I think, with regards to, is he always like a good fit for teams, and is his willpower to just win and things like that, and yeah, how he always has to go to teams that are already good in order to win championships, apparently. So, but no, yeah, I just feel really strongly though that yeah, Nick Nurse, great coach, Monty Williams, he was just kind of a scapegoat there.
Yeah, especially, I mean, in the bubble and that whole season, he was able to rally the Suns and get them out of the basement to becoming like, a true contender to what they are, now. I mean, they've on paper, become a juggernaut, but in practice, I'm not really sure if it's truly one of those. I feel like, yeah, obviously Monty was scapegoated. The new owner, Matt Ishbia, probably wanted to make, a huge statement with the Durant move and then obviously win it all in maybe his first year, or kind of feel like he's on the doorstep there going into year two. But yeah, Monty becomes like a true victim in all of this, because I feel like all those players probably love, playing for Monty and being around the guy like that. He just has like a ton of character. He'll get a job like for sure next year. I don't know where he's going to go. I mean, I think any of those vacancies would make a lot of sense for a guy like that. Team that's ready to compete in the playoffs. I'd be calling him right away as well. I mean, same for Budenholzer too. I mean, I think he leaves the Bucks with like a 680, 690 winning percentage and a championship, and did a lot of great work in Atlanta to get that team, back into the playoff mix year in, year out. And, obviously did a lot with the Bucks too. It just felt like, Giannis doesn't get injured, we're having a different conversation, I feel like, right now. If he played, throughout that first series, in full, could have been a completely different narrative. So again, I feel like it's pulling the trigger a little bit too quickly there. And I mean, these guys will all land new jobs. Just kind of like, as franchises, I'm kind of scratching my head with some of this decision making, because great coaches don't always come around too often, and you let some losses and some series letdowns go, and over time, I feel like the wins will come back and keep you consistent. But yeah, no, truly crazy. And you went on a tangent a little bit while you were talking about coaches, and I wanted to touch on the points you made, but now I'm like, it's slipping my mind a little bit on what you moved.
I think, yeah, I think it was like something with KD's legacy. Yeah, I know we're bouncing around, but yeah, I do want to talk about Budenholzer, but it's like first, and then we can talk about KD, maybe his legacy. I think Budenholzer, like his brother died, right? Like during this series, like how does that not affect somebody, as stoic as somebody can be. So, like, yeah, like why should I care about making a halftime adjustment when, oh, I'm grieving? Like there's no bereavement period, right? For these coaches in this time period. So, like, is there no sympathy towards that? I think that was my biggest thing. And then, yeah, I know there was that whole Giannis thing that, right, he was talking about. Yeah, like Jordan, he won 6 championships out of 15, right, or something like that. And he's like, yeah, are the other 9 seasons failures for him? I don't know. I think that's a valid point. So, to me, it was just like this. It just kind of, I don't know, just go to show like we have like no patience or as a society for anybody like not just winning a championship. It's like, oh, it's you either win the championship or you're a failure, and yeah, I feel like that's just kind of like how things are there. So, but yeah, we can definitely. What are your thoughts on though? I guess you're talking about KD, right? To kind of going off there. What are your thoughts on, I guess, KD
Yeah,
and
just
like
no longer wowed by him. Title conversation on him. It's not like you have KD that equals championships to me anymore. I feel like I felt pretty um in the middle on the Suns. You know, everything. I kind of, obviously the Nets got so much back that it's like, yeah, looking at this 2, 3, 4 years down the line, I feel like the Nets, clearly won this deal. And then it was more or less the conversation of like, do the Suns this year have enough time to make this work and to build that kind of chemistry and like, obviously they came up pretty short in this, this playoffs, for the season or whatnot. But it's like, I'm starting to view KD kind of in the same vein as like a Kawhi Leonard. Like, I don't know if I feel like these guys right now and going forward are still the caliber of stars and consistent performers that they can rally the troops and stay healthy and kind of be at the top of their game and really uplift others in order to like make it to that next level. And I think it's like whatever happens this offseason too. I mean, I'm hearing Harden wants to join up or Irving wants to go join up. It's like that stuff happens again. Like, I'm just gonna laugh. Like, and I just think that Suns team is like heading towards their demise in the next few years. So that's kind of my thought with it. I just feel like he's gone through too much change and too much like off court, and like he's probably so fed up with all the media around him and everything and how he goes about his life and his work and stuff at this point. Like, I just don't know if he has like that true like fire or even the will to like carry his teams to the next level.
Yeah, well, it's like you kind of like compare and contrast Jimmy Butler, right, with all these people. You talk about Kevin Durant, all the talent in the world, like world talent, world class talent whatsoever. Jimmy Butler, was he the last pick I think in the first round from the Bulls way back then. No, like I remember when he got drafted by the Bulls, like, wait, who is this guy? Like, he wasn't on any of the mock drafts and all, and then all of a sudden he worked his butt off to be an all-star caliber player. Now, there's a lot of toss. This guy's a Hall of Famer now, basically, the way that he's been able to show up in the playoffs and just elevate his team. So with all, I guess, baggage talk that people were describing him with the Timberwolves, it was like, oh no, like he wasn't the issue. It was the rest of the players that were the issue, with the Timberwolves. And then also with the Sixers, right? Like he wasn't the issue there. It was the rest of the team, the rest of the organization. That was the issue there. So, and we see that, yeah, now he's elevating a team into conference championship, into the conference championship, and now, yeah, championship talk now. So whereas KD and his team right now they're obviously sitting at home, but then obviously also with the Brooklyn Nets, nothing really came about from that. So yeah, I don't know. It really just goes to show. I wonder if there's going to be much more blueprints in the future and frameworks for people at the Heat. People are really looking at Celtics, like, about having that emphasis on culture and not just bringing in star players and seeing what happens, right?
Yeah. If you're acquiring a star, it's like he's got like the utmost, character. He's a leader. He's driven to take teams to the next level. I mean, I feel like those are the kind of guys, a LeBron, honestly, like I slight him a lot. He's not like my favorite player of all time, but I do respect the guy. He's able to build, culture. He's build that buy-in. He keeps guys accountable. Like, you need guys like, team heart and, basketball first at heart. And some guys just, to me, don't really come off that way. They're more media focused. They're more image focused, whatever it is. And I feel like there's guys that were special, got talents that will be remembered, but kind of be filling their hands out, or banners won't really be hung in their honor and stuff. Like, there's just certain, and I think KD lacks a little bit of that apart from his Golden State. Yeah,
I'm bringing up that Golden State years. It's definitely, I feel like, in order to be contenders, is you have to have a culture builder, right? And I think, this definitely goes to show like the effect of LeBron, right? Like, there wasn't really too much of a structure, obviously, or I should take that back. I mean, the Lakers are, like, as an organization, seen as a golden child, and they usually have some sort of a built-in structure. I think, there has been shifting in the front office a little bit. Obviously when Buss passed away, Jerry Buss passed away, but they've always had that mystique of, hey, we need to be similar to the Yankees, right? There's like as often as times as possible. We're here for championships, so at least they had that established kind of culture. And then obviously bringing in awesome GMing, making those transactions, being a destination, right? They have some sort of culture. So I think it's definitely easier. It appears, right, to have an established culture, have star players, right, that are culture builders, such as Steph Curry, and then as Steve Kerr as a coach for KD to come in. We talked about Kawhi. Like, Kawhi's never been. I don't think anybody's ever described Kawhi as a leader. With that Raptors team, right? It was Lowry. Lowry was the leader there. And then so that I think he was the major cultural footprint that the Raptors had for that championship squad. Obviously, there were some injuries, I think, on the Golden State side, but still they had that championship caliber team there. So I definitely see that maybe there's just going to be less, hopefully maybe less Brooklyn Nets, although it's great drama for us to talk about. But yeah, it just definitely seems like there might be like less of that maybe going forth.
Yeah. No, and I hope so. I think it's bad for basketball. I don't know. And I'm sure there are a lot of fans out there that just get so excited when they see these super teams get created. But like for me, I don't know, it just becomes such a sideshow and distraction. I ultimately feel that most of them don't really pan out. But I've always not kind of respected any of those teams in those eras either. It's kind of like, what did you ultimately accomplish there? You were able to get, together and kind of embarrass, the rest of the league. There's been a lot of good drama, I think, over the years with it. It's fun to like poke holes in certain too, but yeah, I'm hoping it more goes back to like some of the traditional ways of building out the roster. Drafting from within, grooming those players, having them build chemistry, getting those supplemental pieces in free agency is fine, but ultimately it's like fun to watch teams like the Warriors, the Celtics, the Bucks, others that have just kind of like kind of done it the right way, I guess you could say. But I don't know. The only other, I guess, while we're talking about like star players too, I wanted to transition over to the draft lottery and Victor Wembanyama for a second. I have some thoughts, but I just want to hear what your perception of this is. He's probably going to San Antonio at this point. How great of a player I think this guy is going to be? I've heard a lot of commentary, good and bad, about Victor, but like where do you see him ultimately being when his career is all said and done?
Yeah, so it's interesting, right? We talked about culture. We talked about how important that was just right now, right? What better organization? What better having Greg Popovich, who has coached and drafted two generational centers, right, in Tim Duncan and David Robinson. So he has a framework to build off of that with Victor, basically, right? So it's like you copy, paste, done. He's French too. There's been this whole idea, I think, of Kobe actually mentioned this. I remember watching it about AAU back and how it's done shit. The American system of teaching players to develop, play team basketball, less ISO. It sounds like it's the NBA kind of took notice of that, and now they have that and the G League and are trying to right the wrongs of AAU basketball. But Europe, right? They've been teaching the fundamentals for the past couple of decades, so it's really ingrained in there. And you see that in a talent like Victor, right? So it's like, how can you not think this is going to be, some sort of a superstar? I will say, like, obviously he's young, he's pretty frail. That's obviously the they call out, is this another kind of like, Chet Holmgren situation where maybe he gets hurt? Hey, maybe he gets hurt. They get the first overall pick next year or something, and then they kind of go the whole like, and then that would be crazy. Then Popovich's like, hey, I'm going to be like 80, but I'll gladly try to win as many championships, with this squad. So, if I'm Greg Popovich and or a San Antonio Spurs fan, I'm definitely excited. But yeah, there's some great other depth in this draft too. Obviously, Scooter is a big one, and what's that? The Alabama small forward as well is a really good, good player. Yeah, Brandon Miller. So good, like awesome. I think talent. Front of the draft, it sounds like I haven't looked too much on, I guess, the overall depth, but hey, with those types of generational impact players you can have, why not? Think that this could be a good overall draft, and then Victor on the top, going to the San Antonio Spurs. That's as good of a situation you could possibly go to.
Yeah. So I guess with that, I mean, I've heard, Chris Broussard say if this guy is not better, he's a complete bust. I mean, those are. I'm just wondering from your perspective, what this guy has. Like, do you think when his career is all said and done, will ultimately be?
I could see him potential, right? Maybe at least my expectation probably would be like top 15 all time. Like it appears he'll be that good, right? It appears he'll be that good. Again, like perfect spot, perfect landing spot for him to go to. A player, a coach, an organization that has developed, centers like I mentioned, but also European players too. So talk about his French background. So has all those attributes. It's like matching strength with strength, right? Like what better situation can go to, I feel like. So I think top 15 possibly. Obviously, and we see now in the modern day NBA, right, that centers can be key contributors. We see Jokic, right? He's a ball handler. So is Victor. So maybe he takes some aspects of Jokic's game and then brings on, maybe a little bit more of a 3-pointer. Like I think there's been some comparisons, or he's looked up to Durant too. Hopefully, he doesn't get the soft skill set of Durant, but he embodies like the skill set, the actual skill set of Durant there. So I could definitely see a lot of combinations, and like I mentioned with Popovich, he'll figure out eventually what to do with him. So I think that's my take on that.
Yeah. His frame just makes me so nervous. Like, in the general term, like you said, you're looking at a guy like who actually like matches up almost perfectly with Wembanyama's body type, except so I kind of dug around a little bit, and like Porzingis has averaged over 50 games a year, and he missed an entire season because of just different injuries too. I mean, so that's the first thing. I think sometimes when I see like freak, I think instantly my brain goes to this could be the most of all time. But then quickly a guy like Zion Williamson shows, what it's like when is filled out like a middle linebacker and can dunk out of the gym, and it's like, well, crap, now he's got leg injuries every year and he's out of shape or his back hurts or whatever. You get he's blowing out his knee before the year even starts and stuff, and I don't know, man. I'm having a tough time with this one. Like, the talent is undeniable, and it feels like he could. Jokic, that's the kind of guy I'm like, I could see him being a Jokic type if he's on the floor 70, 80 games a year, like just with his skill set. And he did this in a lot of ways, like able to, kind of, possess the ball. He's able to. He's obviously capable of rebounding, blocking, and other things too. So like, everything you'd ever want. I think on that front. So I think the durability in the like the long term, this guy could be. I think he could be obviously an for me with San Antonio is looking at a guy like Kawhi, leaving early and asking out of San Antonio and wanting to kind of do his own thing. Like, will Victor become such a star? Maybe if he breaks out in his first few years, where the lights just aren't Antonio, and it's like he wants to try his own path. And does he go down a route of like trying to assemble super teams, or never quite fulfilled in the location he's at, or he has, or teammates he has, stuff like I don't know enough about to know, who he'll be. Like, will he be a Tony Parker, Ginobili type to kind of buy into a good system? There are just so many unknowns with this that when I see names like Hakeem and the other names I heard, like he doesn't beat those guys in accolades. Like, let's just all pump the brakes real quick. So many great prospects that come into this league year in, year out. A few Yao Mings, there are very few LeBron James and other types that meet patients where I'm kind of like, I'm nervous for this guy. Like, I'm kind of nervous for him because the talent injuries get me a little. Definitely see All-Star game appearances. I guess if I was to make like a Super Bowl prediction, I think, perhaps he an MVP at some point, but for senses I'm more like feeling like all-star appearances is where I see maybe.
Yeah, I mean those are all fair points. Because there's just history and precedent. You mentioned Chet Holmgren. Like, obviously, he just only had one season. He also played, and he got hurt in the offseason. Playing like it was like a pickup game right in Seattle. So, I don't know if there is an injury history with Victor, but I don't think there was one even with Chet Holmgren. So, it's definitely a we'll see type of thing, but. Like we mentioned of how important culture is, right? He's I think 19 or something. So going to be highly impressionable. Going to have, I'm sure Popovich is going to bring in Tim Duncan, David Robinson, the Spurs lineage basically to help out, instill that culture around Victor. So that's where I feel pretty good about that and how they develop him. And, hopefully they kind of keep him grounded. I would think, as well as any 19 star written all over them, how grounded they could possibly be. So, but I guess my question then would be like, who do you think will have the best career out of those three, right? That we just mentioned. Like, do you see like Victor just kind of running away with it? Presumably, going to the Spurs there with the number one overall pick. Or do you see like Scooter Henderson or Brandon Miller? Do you see that any of them overtaking Victor in terms of accolades, championships, etc.?
I mean, this is again kind of giving names and John Morant. And my type of player is just more traditional body types. Like, it's a wing that's 6'7", it's 6'2", super explosive, and has a good jump shot or something like that. Whereas you get into this like, hey, this guy is 7'5" and has 7'10" wingspan and can dunk and shoot threes, and like it gets me kind of nervous, man. I just feel like it's so foreign that it's just there aren't a lot of guys I feel like consistent all-star level production, staying healthy with these kinds of body types, and again, his talent and things. But I think holding the number one pick, I would want to know what it is, Embiid from Philly with maybe some other pieces being swapped. Wembanyama, you need Joel Embiid all day. if Memphis is on that brink of Morant, but wants to know that they're protected for the now Morant's a different case, and maybe we can talk. I'm kind of the mindset of like I'd want to know that is someone I can trust night out producing, and like I don't know, I get into this like uh, trade down or trade away Anderson with other assets and kind of build me in the way that I think about it, but that's kind of where I'm at. I can't right now tell you if I'm confident in Scooter Henderson or Brandon Miller as like superstars, but I just and I know you and I like probably will put together like special for this, but like I will do some more digging on that. But that's kind of my thought.
Yeah, no, it's difficult. It's difficult, right? Because you look at the situation. I mean, that's my whole thing. I feel like is like you look at the situations where each of these players are going. You also talk about positional value, right? Which I know that's been a topic of this show. Apart from I guess Giannis, right? It's like what NBA team of recent memory, with the modern day NBA now, right, has won with the big man being their best player. Obviously, Giannis, exceptional talent, was a mid first round pick, right? But apart from that, you look at the modern day NBA and the Steph Currys and how he changed the game, and now everybody's kind of adapted towards that play style. You know, do you go with the big man to be your best player overall, or do you look at the point guard or the forward a little bit more? Because that seems like where, in my opinion, the best players, the best teams overall, where you kind of build from. So the Lakers, LeBron's the best player, but then obviously, Anthony Davis has the impact on the defensive end. So don't want to slight him on there, but you ask who's the leader of this team, who's the best player. More often than not, you're probably going to get people saying LeBron is. So that's I think where this is a nice I think debate topic to figure out. And then you see Scooter possibly going to be going to Charlotte, right? I think that's kind of what people are thinking. But then it's like, oh, so you got LaMelo, and then you also got Scooter. So you kind of have like 2 point guards. But then you bring in a factor of like, oh, what happened with the Warriors, right? With James Wiseman, like they could have gotten him, but LaMelo Ball, but instead they chose James Wiseman because they kind of needed that center. But then we actually don't have centers in our team, in our flow of our offense and defense. So it never really made sense, but they kind of just did it for the sake of doing it. It felt like so. Yeah, and then you have the Portland Trailblazers now. If they were to get Brandon Miller, but it honestly sounds like if I'm them, you got to be shopping it around. Like I don't think Dame Lillard, he wants to be, waiting for this rookie to develop and become whatever he can be. So I don't know. Yeah, I feel like this draft a lot of unknowns for sure. A lot of talent, which is great and adds a lot of fuel to the fire. But at the same time, those unknowns I think make a lot of more questions. I feel like then there might be some answers for these teams.
Yeah, the teams that have 3 picks. I mean, person to have the most roster. I don't know. It makes sense for the pick they're fits really well with the other and Devin Vassell, others. I feel like it's a nice fit for him. Whereas like you add Brandon Miller to the slew of wings that Portland has. Lillard, say like Lillard's still wide enough that where Brandon Miller could reach, his peak or potential with that squad that would in some of his best years still, and then like because it's like, well, we've already got LaMelo, so we're either gonna have have these two coexist and being kind of like a fit, or we're shipping one of them. And I would have much rather actually seen like the Pistons or Rockets get in the top three, just because I think they're just so exciting. They're like both on the brink to me of like a young player away from being like the next great core. But they'll kind of miss out a little bit here. But yes, I brought up Ja Morant. I did want to talk about Ja Morant a little bit because this second, like, IG live gun, experience that he's kind of gone through at this point. I mean, like, do you think this guy is salvageable? Like, as a player in the NBA, as a person, he kind of had, if not top three, I mean, top five, top 10 type upside, as far as being like, for the next 5 years, at least in that NBA position. Now, if he can just stay in the game, like, this kind of seems like a loose cannon. And what do you think the NBA is going to do about him? And if you were, I don't know, running the Memphis Grizzlies, like, what would you do with him?
So it's an interesting thing, and I've tried to, like, I don't know, encapsulate all this. So, and I think JJ Redick, I don't know if you saw that. He actually, he had like a nice little um, spiel kind of going on ESPN actually. I mean, his whole thing was like were the guns registered? If they were, which if I'm a somewhat of a smart NBA player, first I obviously wouldn't be live streaming it or anything like that. But yeah, make sure those guns are registered. And I believe Tennessee, which is I think where he was, is open carry, so legal. So I think JJ Redick was like, he did nothing illegal. So technically, like, what are we complaining about here? About other people doing illegal activities, DUIs, etc. Yeah, here we are talking about Ja Morant. Sure, I'm not gonna lie, looks bad. Going to a gun range and like being all John Wick about it or anything like that. Like, it was very much hey, look, I got guns. I'm kind of going off that, not some sort of I'm a disciplined person going to the gun range, being responsible or anything like that. So that's just one distinguishment I want to call it there, because I know there's been gun advocacy rights pieces here, like he's just being a lawful citizen. It does not look good. Still, it does not look good. And I think that's the biggest thing with all that. It doesn't look good. I don't know if maybe if a suspension might be warranted. I will say some sort of fine for sure. I don't know what the stipulation is to like moral crime. I don't even know if this necessarily qualifies that. I just think it looks bad. And obviously the PR world, for whatever reason, there's not much more they can talk about, is trying to really, really ramp this up. So I think it's like it appears he's doing things legally, being an idiot. And I think that's the key distinguishment that I'm trying to figure out in my own sense.
Yeah. So you're running the Grizzlies next year. I mean, at this, we had this one-on-one with Ja. Ja had this statement of being like, I'm going to try to show the true person that I am. It's not even through he's kind of gone ahead and done that again, kind of just embarrassing himself first and foremost, but I also, obviously, but you're the GM of the group. You need to probably be in the this year. I mean, in all honesty, you get the early, and your star player might be suspended for up to a year. I've heard it could be a half season. It could be pretty substantial here, just based on like I think the image it portrays, and obviously just the lack of character. I think it shows a lack of priorities. I think like what he ultimately wants to accomplish here. I mean, this whole like lawsuit, I think, for that kid that got punched or whatever too. So it's like that's all stacked on top of this at this point. But what kind of moves would you be making? I mean, would you be pulling the trigger here? Would you just hold and trust that Morant can? Or are you making moves?
I mean, if I'm the Grizzlies, I mean, I would consider. If I was a GM, I would try to be doing the responsible thing and see what feelers there. But at the same time, like I don't know what team would want to touch him to take the risk to even go through that. Have any young talent? Would they be willing to give up some young talent, draft picks? Like, what would that all look like? But I just don't know any team that would necessarily want. I'm sure they can find some, but what am I? If I'm the Grizzlies GM, like that's your job, right? To figure talent possible and culture to win. I mean, I'm talking about right culture. So is he the culture around? Because he's really kind of pulling the other way, I think, with all this of like putting all these extracurriculars front and center rather than hey, hey. On time or whatever, but why streaming this crap,
Yeah. I mean, I think you're right. I think if I'm the GM, there's so much uncertainty that you're probably going to get 50 cents on the dollar. Asking yourself whether or not worth it in my mind, and player I can like make comparisons to on this situation, but a Gilbert Arenas in the world, but kind of given and things like that, bringing into a locker room, obviously violating NBA policy at the time. It's like you just get back to like the intelligence of like what we're in the locker room anyway. I mean, I feel like if I have it card, it was about card like that where they actually got involved in like just being in a locker, So it's like this guy, I don't know, is kind of about an image or whatever it is. It's like I get back to like, is this the kind of guy to like push a team through a conference final, through some finals game, and need leadership and grit and grind, and like it just seemed like he kind of was looking for an early exit door and started being throughout the year about them locking down the West and stuff. So he is young still. I'll give him obviously some time to like back on his feet if suspensions come and he's able to kind of resolve everything. But yeah, man, I don't know. It gets really tough when I start guys and thinking like these are championship guys.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree because young age, I think he's 23 or something like that. And as you're evaluating talent now, heading into drafts, and I'm not even sure John Morant had any type of issues off the court, like to be honest, but that really I think just shows like how important all that really go to is like meeting the parents, like how seeing what are exactly, asking the coach like how's this person off the court. Again, but I'm really just like giving Jimmy here. Like you look at Jimmy Butler and everything he was able to accomplish, right? Didn't have a stable home and had it's kind of like adopted, I believe, basically basketball teams like families, formally, but it was figuratively, I guess there. So and having that perseverance to overcome things, even like. Right, like he's kind of a choir boy image. I know, I think everything and all that. Not married, hey, if that's the worst possible thing that he's done, and he seems like a pretty decent locker room guy and has a pretty good image otherwise, and he seems like a pretty decent father too. So he's then hey, that's the Celtics found a good one. So and I think he drafted him. I think it was one of the last draft picks that he had there. So really goes to show, I guess, what a good GM or he was basically. But yeah, culture. I think that in the end, setter, and that's really hard to come by from trying to these 20 somethings or these 19-year-olds. Like, are you going to be a culture or are you going to be a problem, right?
Yeah, it ties back to stuff. I mean, earning type vibes. It's hard to predict this stuff because obviously Kyrie, Ja was also on a really just kind of more or less as a fan just sucks that he's not at his best, stuff like that, where it's he can just go out there, compete, and if he fails, he fails, but at least let's see you go out there and be fully invested, fully in it, not with all these distractions throughout the season, not being in the headlines for other stupid stuff, and yeah, I mean, his offenses aren't in my eyes, but it's just, dude, just get your head together a little bit, get out, and it's his choice, and he's his own man. So we put a lot of stock into it because we're fans. We want to be entertained and stuff. But these guys obviously may have completely different priorities once those checks start rolling in. So, yeah. In any case, you look around the league. I feel like there's only just really say these are 1A type guys from their leadership they bring, the intensity they bring day in day out, what they can do for their teammates, and that's why they're always in it. That's why they're mates and Hall of Famer.
Yeah, no, 100%. Yeah, and yeah, you look at the teams right now. Again in the playoffs that are still playing. You look at Jokic. Jamal Murray, Michael Porter Jr. Definitely have battled injuries, but I don't hear anything about them. Not that I'm aware of about being distractions to the team. LeBron, Anthony Davis, LeBron. Well, was it Hollywood as hell? I think is what Joe Noah always said, but really talented basketball, focused, really smart basketball player. Prioritizes it right. Hey, yeah, again, Queen fouls and stuff, flop, all that. But in the end of the day, he's gotten the finals how many times? He's a winner. Celtics, and a lot of praise towards those organizations and stand out, in the East. So because of the culture that they have, the level of talent of young players that they have who are mature at young ages. So I think all of that really just goes to show how important that is to build a winning organization and team. So,
yeah, man, I feel like we covered a lot of ground. Obviously, looking forward to this. Final Four kind of playing its way out here for the Eastern. I don't know. Not that we have to go into final thoughts or anything based on it. But any other, I don't know, basketball, NBA thoughts?
Basketball, NBA. I mean, looks like I'm seeing, the Lakers, Denver right now. It's tied. I think I got the latest update here. 10 minutes in the fourth. So, I think a bit of a run for the Lakers is okay. It's now 81-79. So, I think I'm still kind of pulling for the Lakers, or thinking the Lakers are going to win here. Just seems like they're bringing it, but I don't know. We'll see. I'd love to be wrong though. I'd love for you to be right. I think with regards to having the Nuggets and the Celtics there, but yeah, I'm just thinking that the Lakers. It just feels like they're kind of a little bit different this season. So.
Yeah. I'm not even sure if the Nuggets have won a championship before, but it would
No.
be like super great for basketball and for Denver. And I don't know. I think like it's always nice to see some of these markets that traditionally don't always attract like the best star talent. Like Denver might be changing now. I mean, I feel like it's becoming a little bit more cool. And I mean, like, cannabis is kind of like, becoming a true like destination setter for Denver and stuff. Like maybe it's becoming cooler in NBA circuits too. But like this core that they've established and like kind of making that run kind of consistent over the last few years or something. It'd be nice to see some sort of payout for them because we were talking about centers a little bit, and just in today's game, it's hard to find like a lot of centers that are winning titles that are like the number one guy on the team. And if Jokic can change that viewpoint like Giannis did a little bit, in the last couple of years, like that'd be just awesome because then, you know, it would just kind of create even more balance to the league where, lately it's been a lot of 3 and D guys or obviously Curry is like the star point guard and stuff. Like it'd just be nice to see like a center kind of get his team over the hump. And I'm saying that as a fan. Yeah, in general, it feels like the other 3 teams are more or less following that kind of 3 and D, large wing, deep wing type.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. Honestly, like, be kind of interesting, right? Jokic wins MVP twice these past couple of seasons, but I'm sure he'll and trade in those two MVP if that were to be the case. So I just find that all kind of funny. And then now that they have a health Michael Porter Jr. and Jamal Murray, like it is fun. Team reaches kind of its potential, right? So they play, and we'll be kind of cheering them on, but slightly skeptical. But see what happens here.
For sure. Well, yeah, let's just cap it there. We've got some great content coming up in the next couple weeks or so. So obviously, if you're joining us tonight, stay tuned. Follow us on Instagram at Ball and Breakfast. You can find us on YouTube. Hit the like button, subscribe, comment on anything you heard tonight. And we're also on Apple, Google Podcasts, Spotify. So check us out on audio. And yeah, we'll be back, very soon for you guys.